Hello, all. Welcome back again. I know I said that we'll be covering a lot of topics, but I just wanted to start off by saying that I want this to be kind of an area that I can help inform a lot of people, maybe give some ideas, new perspectives, and even if you don't have a disability, even if you're not a parent or a female, that like maybe I can give some insights or different ideas or inspirations to think about. So I want to start with that I recently something that's been kind of big in my life forever. Well, it's just with Christmas coming up, sorry, the holidays coming up. As a kid, I used to always wish for a diagnosis when I was writing up my Christmas list. And I remember every year being disappointed that I didn't get a response from Santa saying, "This is what you have." And as I grew older, I felt very odd because I felt bad that my parents probably saw how much I was wanting to know the name of what I have, or what it's called, where it comes from, why it happened. And now I'm at a place where I'm a parent myself and I have a child to think about and take care of and all the stuff that comes with that. So learning a lot of old experiences through him. And in this last year, a lot has changed for me in terms of getting an official diagnosis, having a name for my disability, and kind of knowing that I'm not alone out there. Because for almost 25 years, I don't want to say I'm that old, but for almost 20-ish years, I thought I would never ever know. It was, big when I was in my 60s and I was wasting away, not knowing what happened, or I had progressively had some kind of disability that was progressive, and at that point I wouldn't even know what 20 years ago looked like, or what 20-year-old me looked like. So, as of, I believe it was January, maybe, might be a little off on that, but early 2024, 2025, I got my diagnosis officially, which there isn't even a name for it yet. It's just a bunch of letters and numbers. But it's a genetic mutation of my, I think it's an 18th or 19th chromosome that was triggered by a viral infection when I was a child, so about 7 or 8, but I had issues before that prior. And this mutation was always kind of in the background lingering, and I didn't show symptoms of the mutation until I was exposed to either chickenpox or like a flu, and I never got chickenpox physically, but I had the episodes where my body was physically reset. And so, for instance, when it first happened, I was writing with my right hand. I was talking pretty well. I was easy to understand. And then I was exposed to chickenpox or whatever viral infection at the time. And the next day or that evening, my speech went. I couldn't talk really. I had to learn how to walk again. And instead of being right hand dominant, I used my left hand. So it completely switched. And they caught hemiplegia, I think, because it affects half my body. And that happened a total of 3 times. So I went from being right-handed to left-handed to right-handed again. And each time, my recovery was a little bit worse. So in the beginning, I had about 90% recovery rate, and then I was at about 70. And then where I am today, it's about 65% from where I was when I was really, really young. And thankfully, somehow, it never really affected my mental state. Like, I was able to always do well in school, that kind of thing. But physically, I went from being able to, play some activities at school, like gym and hitting a baseball and tennis and kicking a soccer ball, to not being able to do that safely because I was just tripping all the time, or my one arm was not working to hold a bat or a tennis racket. So I just kind of stopped playing those kind of sports and just always watched. And then in running, I couldn't coordinate my legs to run together so I wasn't misstepping or falling or tripping. So I slowly just gave up and tried to do that because it wasn't safe. So yeah, here I am today. I got my those teapot arms, I call it, or my tree branch, my hanger, a lot of different words I use to describe it. But a lot of it has made me who I am, and it's helped me realize, that with having a name, which is ATP1A3, and it's just a bunch of fancy words of what kind of protein the DNA was affected and all that stuff. So, even having that at 29 years old, finally knowing what it's kind of called, and where exactly it occurred and why it happened, there's no, I never, I hate this word, but I never thought of myself as looking for a cure, because I know that isn't realistic. And I'm not tired anymore and naive to the fact that a lot of stuff doesn't have a cure that, I can do a therapy for a few days or a few weeks or a few months and then wake up one day and have everything listening and working the way I want it to. So at this point in life, I'm just happy to know what it's called, what caused it, like having no timeline match up was just kind of eerie to me because when I was reading this report from my doctors about it, it felt like someone had copied my chart because it was so accurate. Finally, I had so many tests done for a variety of different disabilities. And I also get a lot of the boxes, but the big markers I never fit into. So I really lost a lot of hope when I was younger, after having a name or being able to say, this is what I have. I know this for sure. I know what caused it, and I have those answers. But now at 29 years old, I'm able to say I know what happened, or I understand what happened. Why it happened, or why it was me, I don't know. But that's what usually happens. Is you know why it was you, but you can kind of go trace it back and say, okay, well, when I had those resets, or when I couldn't walk, that all makes sense as to why it was part of this mutation. So with that, I've had a lot of mixed feelings because I waited so long and I thought it would never happen. But with science and technology being where it is today, it's very humbling and exciting to say I have a diagnosis. There's nothing that could have been prevented or helped. It's just anomalous. But being able to share my story, sorry, being able to share my story about it and my experiences with it and just reflect on it are something that will be priceless to a lot of people. And my son knowing, like, hey, my mom has this. Because for years I grew up saying, well, it's kind of like this, but not that, but it's like combining two disabilities into one, or, now I have a name and I can tell people what it's called and they can research it and they can look it up and see, oh wow, like, this is what you went through, that's interesting. And to give me a lot of appreciation for the hard work of people that study this, because there's not much out there on it yet. But I'm hoping in the next, 5 to 10 years to help be a part of answering any questions I can as a person that lives with this. And helping maybe people younger or parents that have children that have this mutation to understand and be see what a version of a life with this mutation looks like. And not as an inspirational way, but just as I'm here, I understand, I empathize with your worry, especially as a parent myself. Or as someone that went through this as a kid and having no one else to understand it. And always hearing doctors say, we don't know. We we can't figure it out. We don't know. Being poked and prodded and tested on just to have everything come back regular or normal. And one thing for years it was genetic, and wondering if my mom gave it to me or if I got it from my mom's flavor she passed on. And I can say, it's not from her, it's not from my dad, and it's just something that went wrong with my DNA sequencing. So the cool story that I want to keep going on, but knowing that I have this name and diagnosis for it, is like, as my brother once said, it's like realizing you have cousins, you have this whole side of cousins that you've never met in your family. You don't know where they live, you don't know what they're called, their names, but they're out there. And that's how this really feels, is I don't know how many people walk around in the US, in the world, that might have this exact mutation, because there's not much um, material out there yet, and there's not a lot of numbers out there yet, because it's something that's just now recently getting some traction. But it's like having a long lost family out there that you can connect in a way that you can't connect to anyone else ever, because it's just something happens, and you enter like everyone else that might have this. You get down about not having your community, not being able to find, you know, conventions to go to and talk about it, or to hear the latest technology or treatments that they have. Everything is made just advisory by your doctor, by your team, to try and, you know, cut down the muscle stuff, to cut down the issues, and just try to make it day to day. So if I ever come across someone that has a same mutation, I feel like it would just be like seeing an old friend, someone that I knew 20 years ago, and just having that connection. Because there's something so special about it feeling like you're alone and then realizing I have others out there that can understand the frustration, that know exactly what my story is too, and this trail of where it come from, why me, and kind of being told I don't know what's wrong with you by all these experts in the field. And so I just really hope that with this diagnosis that I can talk about more, maybe more people that have something similar, just to see the differences or to compare, and and not compare about it, but just see how they are going about things, what tips they might have for me about how to make things a little bit each year. So, I'm just excited and hopeful for what I might come across in the future with that and who I might meet because of it. So, that was the topic for today. I'll put the name of it in my video so that way anyone that is curious about what mutation I have, you can look up the actual name of it, because it's kind of hard to pronounce for me, and I know not the easiest to always understand, but I think if it gets more traction and more information for others that they're still undiagnosed, or you know, it never hurts to add to your knowledge list. So, but thank you for listening. Um, I went a little longer than I meant to, but I will be back next time. Hopefully with a different topic, but a lot for me to talk about that I hope to talk about. Not, you know, run over it too fast, so just I'm not used to slowing down to explain a lot of stuff. So we'll see how this goes, and again, thank you for listening. Bye!